Alright, so for what we're doing next, we're actually going to be moving into using value, but using it with paint. So pretty much every project, we've been evolving this process. We figured out how do I show light and shadows and show value with pencil, how do I do that with charcoal or maybe colored pencils, how do I do that starting to use color. So ultimately, this has been leading up to us figuring out how to do this with paint. If you don't have a lot of paint available, like maybe you have one of those small watercolor sets, if you do, I would just, since those are smaller paints, I would work a little bit smaller. So don't use quite as large a sheet of paper as I'm using. What we're going to do is we're going to practice creating forms using paint. And so this is something that we've done with drawing before. So we're going to actually do this with actual painting stuff. So I'm getting my brush cleaned out and everything, and I'm going to choose a color where I'm going to imagine a table with objects sitting on it. So for my table, I'm going to go with kind of a neutral color, but I need to do a technique called color wash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight across here for the edge of the table, and then I'm going to fill in everything that would be the actual table part. So I'm going to get a little bit more brown on there. You notice I'm staying kind of light here. So I want this brown to all seem sort of the same shade or tint of brown in this case, because we learned last week that tints are when you get a little lighter. So I'm keeping the paint pretty transparent. So you'll notice I'm using long, smooth brush strokes. So I'm going all the way from one side to the other. If you use little choppy brush strokes, this is going to take forever. So you want to try to go from one side of the paper all the way across to the other. If you're doing this and you get a little paint on the table, I'm sure people at home will forgive you as long as you do a good job and you clean up after yourself. So filling this in, and I'm not trying to make one part the dark part and one part the light part yet. We need to sort of see where we would do that later and why we would do that. We know we're going to because we've been showing that with our other materials. So I'm going to choose a color for my table part, and I'm going to choose a color for the wall behind it. So I'm going to do that next. I would not choose white or black because one, the paper is already white. Two, if you use black and you go too dark, then you can't really practice putting shadows on stuff later. So I think my background, I'm going to use blue for that. So I'm going to be painting mine. You're going to paint yours, and you'll see what to do in the next video.